We're going to start with some hard truths, and that is there was a study done in 2009 by UCLA that found that women that describe their homes as cluttered have higher levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and I think that can check out for all of us, right? We walk into our house and we have a cluttered living room, a cluttered bedroom. We don't want to do some of the basic things like make dinner or spend time with our kids because we are so overwhelmed by the amount of things that we are seeing. We're dragged down by all this decision fatigue of where our things should go and moving them around, and then we can't find the things that we're looking for. And it's a completely exhausting place to be. And believe me, I have been there. That's why today we're going to talk about 5 simple strategies on how to stop stuff shuffling our things all over our house and start to really deal with what the real problem is. The first strategy I want to talk to you about is to stop organizing and to start eliminating. All right, friends, we are in the land of long lost toys. When I look around this room, it has been so many different things over the years, whether it was like a bedroom or my daughter's playroom. It really is a catch-all area. And for so many years, I thought that if I just hyper organized this area and got the right baskets and put the right labels on things, that everything would be okay, that this room would feel good to be in. And that never happened. Year after year, it never happened. And so then I had to step back and think, why is that? Why is this room never right? And it came down to the fact that I was trying to organize a place that was too cluttered. And instead of looking at things and thinking, I have plenty of blankets, all my beds have blankets, and this is an extra blanket I've been hanging on to forever. It's stained, it doesn't look very nice. But why do I keep it anyway? I have a basket I can put it in, so it's organized, it has a place to be, but why don't I eliminate it? And what I realized for so long is that for me, it really was because I organized it and I had it in a basket that I kept it. Have you ever been like that? I had a basket, I had a label. So therefore, it's like in my brain, I didn't have to get rid of it when I didn't need it. And so I think for a lot of us that this kind of clutter, this clutter that's organized, but we should get rid of it because we have no need for it, is even harder to get rid of than any other kind of clutter, because we've spent our time, our energy, our money on getting the things like baskets and boxes to organize our stuff. And so it's like we're fighting our brain. Our logic is telling us we have a place, we have a space for it, you should keep it, it's organized. We have to go against that initial feeling that we have in our brains in order to get rid of this kind of stuff, because just because we have a place for it and it's organized doesn't mean we need it. And really all it's doing is making my closet a storage unit for a bunch of things that I know that I'm never going to touch or look at ever again. When it comes to stuff shuffling, one of the hardest things to do, but also one of the most necessary, is to deal with those items right away. So as you can see, I was doing a little decluttering in here that I needed to do for a long time. But now is the time, the hardest time of the declutter, that I have to start making some decisions about what to do next and dealing with the real items. So these eggs we used this year when we did our Easter egg hunt, and then I found some pictures that were misplaced of my daughter and Santa Claus that we like to keep, but they're not where they belong. And that is when something very strange happens to me. I don't know if it happens to you, but it's when I start to think of stuff shuffling again. Even in the moment where I'm trying to not stuff shuffle, my brain immediately reverts back to how can I make this easier for myself? I find it best practice to put those things away as soon as you're done doing that corner or that space or that drawer. Put those things away. I do this before I start bagging everything up or putting it in my car to donate it. I deal with the things that I know need to stay and need to go back in their home. Why? It's because these things are visual. And if you're a visual person like myself, looking at them over and over again is gonna annoy me. But I'm also a person that likes to procrastinate. So I can walk past this all week and I can ignore it, but it's going to be a tab that keeps coming up in my brain. That's one more thing that I need to do, and I get more and more irritated. So before I take any of the things that I want to declutter out of my house, I'm gonna deal with the stuff shuffling first. so that I don't make the excuse when I come back in the house that I'm too tired or I need to go get a glass of water or I have something else I need to do. I can't come up with a magical excuse for it if I deal with it right away. But also on that note, when you see things like this, that you are stuff shuffling over and over again, maybe they're not finding the right home, but you do want to keep them, I want you to think about where you're keeping them. Are you keeping these items in a place that is easy for you to access? Or is it just too far away? Honestly, I had to take down all of the holiday stuff in our attic and put it in our side attic. And that's because it was too much work for me to pull down the really heavy ladder that's also scary and creaky and crazy and go upstairs to put all these things away that I ended up finding. But it's much easier to go in the side attic. So think about how I can eliminate some steps when I do have to deal with my stuff shuffling. The other nice thing is that our attic upstairs gets like 1,000 degrees, and this attic stays basically the same temperature as our house. So that's one less reason for me to procrastinate having to put things back in here. Over the years, I found that a lot of times I will end up with excess stuff because I keep everything that I end up bringing in, even if it isn't the best that I could have. And so when it comes to stuff shuffling, if you're somebody who often puts off these decisions, something that can help is to think of your things with the touch 30 rule. Have I used this item in the last 30 days? If I haven't, is it because it's sentimental? Is it because it's a holiday item? That's why. Or is it because it isn't the best that I could possibly do? I've had this cleaning product in my husband's bathroom for I don't even know how long. I have no memory of the last time I used it. And then I moved it up here thinking that if it was closer to my cleaning supplies, maybe I would use it. But that's where this litmus test comes in, this 30 touches rule, because what I do like is what I already have in this spray bottle right here. This is the multi-purpose cleaner that I really enjoy and I know works very well for me. But this one doesn't. And so you get into this like conundrum of what I should do with these items when I know that they have a use, but I haven't personally been using them in 30 days. Things like cleaning supplies are so difficult for me because they do have a ton of extra uses. Like you could clean your car with them, you could clean things that are outside with them, and that's all true. But those are all things that my old self used to tell me in order to stuff shuffle, in order to not make decisions. And that's what I'm really trying to change over this next year, is to stop moving these things around when I know that I'm not going to go back for them. And so I know you guys probably could list a million uses for this product right here, but it doesn't matter because I'm not using it. That's what I want you to keep remembering. Don't worry if I suggest something to you or if somebody tells you to do something with an item. If you're not going to touch it in the next 30 days because you haven't in the last, it doesn't matter that it's a useful item. It just really doesn't, friends. It matters that you're not using it. So I'm going to go through the cleaning products that were underneath my kitchen sink right now. And it's also my junk drawer area with random things like pencils and scissors and tape. And I'm going to use that idea. Have I used this in 30 days? What use is it to me in the near future? And is it the best that it can be? If it is not my favorite Ticonderoga pencil, then no, I'm not going to reach for this one, and somebody else can enjoy it. It can go in a different pile. That idea has really helped me to stop stuff shuffling and making excuses for keeping way more than what would make me happy. And it really just goes back to that study. If I have more things that I physically feel comfortable taking care of, it doesn't matter if they're useful. It doesn't matter if one of my friends is using them, if they find them useful. If it's too much for me, that's all that matters in this whole game of decluttering. I would love to know though, as I'm doing this, what are your favorite cleaning products? I know what mine are. And I really like just using the powder that I get and I put it in my own spray bottle. It's worked really, really well. If you want to know the brand I use, I can put it down below. But time and time again, I have found myself, I'll buy things that I end up not using them. And then what do you do with them, right? It's so hard to make that decision, but it's also really important in order for you to be able to keep moving forward. Okay, so I brought this out for you because this is another form of stuff shuffling. And that is those someday items, those broken bottles or the craft supplies that we never end up bringing out. All those things can get us really stuck because what do we want to do? We want to save them. We're going to put them back together. We're going to use them, and we remember enjoying them until they got broken or were not useful. And then what do? We don't move forward. If I really wanted to fix this vase, I would have done it immediately. And yes, I was sad when it broke. And my daughter was too. It was one of her favorites. And so we kept it and we held on to it. But then we have to acknowledge that this was probably a week ago. And what have we done? Zero things, right? I mean, I don't even know if this is fixable, honestly, but it would be very, very, very hard to put back together. And getting over that someday shuffle is probably one of the hardest things for me to do because I have a hard time getting over the idea that it was a useful thing and now it's not. And it's not out of me not wanting it anymore, but it's maybe I don't have time, I don't have energy, I don't have the skills to deal with it. And so it's not going to be useful and I have to let it go. So I know we would all love to know what your someday shuffle is. Those items that maybe you used to be a scrapbooker and now all those things are just sitting up on the shelf and never been touched. Or maybe you had a job that you used to do and so you needed all of these things and that job is no longer. I think all of us could probably say that we have these things in our home and it comes and it goes and they're very easy for us to overlook because in our brain, we say that they are useful. I just need to ... right? And they will be useful again. But one of the big problems that I had to recognize in myself was that these someday shuffles that I kept doing were causing me a lot of anxiety, whether I liked it or not, because it became a list of things that I just never could get to. I could never accomplish. And that made me not feel good about myself. And so as hard as it is to get over the fact that you do not have the time or energy or skills to do said thing, it's going to feel so much better when you let it go because not only are you going to feel lighter and not have this weight on your shoulder of these things that you can't get to, but it means that somebody else can enjoy those things. Or if they're broken, like my vase, it just means that it's one more thing off of my list that I wasn't going to ever get to anyway. And so, yes, I can definitely let it go. This next one is the best if you are a stuff shuffler when it comes to everyday items, and that is the no pass table rule. You are not going to put things on flat surfaces and leave them forever until finally you just hope something happens to them. As a recovering stuff shuffler, this was probably one of the hardest things for me to figure out a system for how to overcome this because the flat surfaces in my house, mainly this one and my dining room table, my entryway table, they're easy to lay things on and walk away. And so I had to start imagining these flat surfaces as their own little islands, that these islands could only accept so many things at a time. In my entryway, I had to decide what things were allowed to stay and what things were not, because so often I would drop things, I would walk away, and just picture that hopefully they would find their way home one day. And what it led to was constantly forgetting where my things were or losing them. And in the morning, that anxiety, that stress would build, and I wouldn't know where my stuff is. And so in order to stop stuff shuffling, our big flat surfaces around our house, the high traffic areas, we have to find very specific homes for these items. And so things like mail and receipts that maybe I need to keep will go right up here in this container. And why I do this instead of having it on my desk in my office is because this mail I need to be reminded to deal with over and over again. All my junk mail I actually brought out to the trash can before I came in. But if I have mail that I need to keep and need to keep track of, it needs to be in a place where I am constantly having a visual cue that I need to deal with it. If I was to hide it up in my office upstairs, personally, I would forget about it and never actually deal with it. The other things that we want to deal with are things like our sunglasses. So whether you are giving this flat surface a container home, so I can put my sunglasses in that basket, or what I do is I end up just putting my glasses in their case in my purse so that it's one less thing for me to forget. So my keys, I hang them up near where I'm visually seeing them, and things like stuff that we need to do, activities that we have coming up, they go with my mail. So these are things that I am constantly visually getting the cue that I need to deal with them, use them, pay them, whatever it might be. But I'm not having everything just laying out on all my flat surfaces, because visually all those little things are very overwhelming for our eyes to see when we walk in the door. But you know what's not? It's not overwhelming when those things have a specific home, a container, a space that they go. And doing this over and over again becomes a habit. But the flat surfaces can stay open and useful for when I do need them. Stuff shuffling. Stuff shuffling is still something that I can struggle with every once in a while, but having these habits in my back pocket, having these strategies to use as I am decluttering has really helped me to acknowledge what my true problems are, which is not eliminating my extra clutter or keeping things way beyond I really need them, or putting things on flat surfaces and walking away. All of these things lead us to have a lot more clutter out and around our homes that we don't really want to see all of the time. So thanks guys for helping me do a little declutter around my house. And I hope that these ideas have helped you. And if you want to continue your journey, then click on the video right here. And I wish you guys all the very best.